Welcome to the third season of Real Talk. I am so excited to be back here with my co-host, Lanisa Matthew, the Director of Organizational Development. Lanisa, it has been a while.
Tracy, we are back, and I am excited.
I am too. I mean, we took a little bit of time off to regroup and figure out what staff might find helpful and beneficial as they're dealing with their well-being and their wellness, and I think we got it this time.
I do too. Just fantastic guests lined up, and we are just excited to start right now.
Absolutely. So joining us today for our third season of Real Talk is Dr. Nakia Black, who is the owner of Nia Therapy Nook. Thank you, Dr. Black, for being here with us today and for taking the time to talk to our audience about the topic of stress management. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So why don't we just get started? And can you give our audience a little bit of information about your background and your practice?
Absolutely. I have about 20 years plus of experience in various industries, including the military, finance, and clinical mental health and higher education. I have worked with individuals suffering from mental illness, substance use and recovery, as well as HIV and AIDS. I've worked in 3 male institutions for corrections here in Connecticut, and I've worked in 3 collegiate mental health institutions.
Impressive. Impressive. Thank you. This gives us a really good understanding of your skill set and how you'll be able to assist our staff as we talk about stress management.
Dr. Black, can you tell our listeners a little bit about what led you to focus on the area of stress management? And do you find more people need to learn healthy ways to manage our stress?
Yes. I started off focusing on stress management because particularly I think we all actually navigate stress on a day-to-day basis.
That's right.
It's inevitable, right? Life is stressful. We're dealing with life stressors from transitions with our own families, with our kids, and then providing services for individuals. And I think often we don't recognize the levels of stress and how the continuum of stress actually exists. There's stress that actually is good, that motivates us, and then there's stress that's maybe not so great, that's actually distressing and overwhelming, that prevents us from actually doing the things that we want to do. And oftentimes we don't give ourselves an opportunity to actually sit and think about what's causing us stress. How are we navigating it? And what can we do differently to help us not be so stressed and overwhelmed?
Dr. Black, I love that you help distinguish that there is a positive way of looking at stress and also the barriers that can negatively impact us. Can you talk a little bit about what those examples could look like in our daily lives?
Yes. So sometimes good stress looks like, I've got a new promotion that's coming up. There's an opportunity or just a new area of growth that I'm looking forward to. So I'm enthralled in it. I want to kind of get into it. And then there are other components of everyday stressors that are compounded. And sometimes we don't even recognize that they're compounding. That's actually taking away from our ability to thrive and actually causing us to actually struggle and maybe even be in crisis. So we go from these high ends of yes, this is a promotion. I'm excited about it. And then maybe we get the job. And then there's all these demands of trying to figure out how to navigate the new role, plus the family stuff that might be going on, plus maybe our commute. And all those things add up. And it kind of causes us stress. And we're I didn't realize it. And now I'm kind of struggling. Maybe I can't concentrate. Maybe I'm having a really hard time navigating all these things. And I think sometimes we just kind of need to take a step back to really kind of think about, well, what is it that's causing the stress and what can we do to relieve some of that that's kind of causing us that angst and worry?
Wow, that resonates with me on so many levels.
Yes.
When I think about our staff and the fact that many of them, when you talk about good stress, yes, are promoted, moving from a social worker to a supervisor or supervisor to a PS, and up from there, that they're excited about it. But the stress that it might cause may look different from one person to another in the form of good stress. How might someone know that they're experiencing good stress? What might that look like?
Yes, we're probably a little bit more driven. We're excited. We have calmness in our body. We feel good about the things that we're doing. And our days kind of feel like we're moving in ease. So those are usually the good stressors, right? And that doesn't mean that you're not getting or encountering some negative things. It just means that we're actually kind of managing it well. And I think there are components of recognizing that with our stress, there are ways to kind of maybe mitigate some of it in the sense of like recognizing, okay, well, there are things that are depleting us. What are the things that we're adding to our day that help renew us, refresh us? And often, sometimes we're taking a lot of things in that deplete us and not replenishing it with things that help lift us up.
I love that you spoke about compounding stress, because that's real talk.
Absolutely.
Because that's the piece where it's like, I can handle this. All right, I'm good here. And then it just keeps coming and stacking and stacking. That's the piece sometimes just feels, I know what some of our staff just feel overwhelmed,
Absolutely.
buried, right? And so, when you talk about these stress that, we talked about compounding, any suggestions or techniques about maybe how they can address it or even acknowledge it maybe? Is that what do you recommend?
So I think the first piece is even acknowledging when we actually feel stressed. What are the symptoms of stress?
That's good.
Right? And a lot of that's going to look different per person, because I think we navigate stress so much every day that we don't even give ourselves a moment to kind of assess, like, is this compounded stress too much, or is this just what I'm supposed to do? We get up every morning and we have our to-do list. We already got the things that we've got going on, and we just got to get it done. And we never even kind of like check back in with ourselves to kind of just say, how are you today? What is your level at today? Can you really show up and give 100%? And I know that we have the expectation that we should, but the reality is sometimes we're not there. And I think we need to be honest with ourselves and the people who are around us to kind of like lean on them for support. I also think in that notion is that the people that surround us should also be able to kind of pick up on maybe when we are experiencing the stressors. So, right, somebody might be able to see it better than maybe I can if I'm not checking in. And I think that's where in our supports, in our systems at work and even at home, we need a collaborative team to kind of be able to kind of help balance some of that for us. And also be able to point it out and also encourage each other, right? That peer support is so important.
It's lovely.
That's huge. That's huge in the sense that I'm not quite sure everyone knows how to articulate that they feel stressed or who to pull on to help them through that.
I agree.
And as as a profession, even looking within the agency, it's giving ourselves a little bit of grace.
That's right.
Absolutely.
To be able to say, I can't handle this right now. Doesn't mean tomorrow won't be, tomorrow might be different, but right now in the moment, I can't handle it.
I agree.
And that's the first step to recognizing it maybe?
I think a little bit, yes. I think it's recognizing how your body is feeling, because your body is constantly telling you what's going on. And often we kind of, as the helping profession, we ignore our stuff for everyone else's stuff. So we kind of put ours to the back burner. And the reality is, like, we have to really be in tune with ourselves to do that check-in, because I think that'll help us to recognize whether or not we are maxed out, whether or not we're actually experiencing stress, whether or not I can take on one more thing or not. And often because we're not doing that, guess what? We can't let other people know. I think about when my children were younger. I remember my toddler would literally, he would wake up and he was like my hungry child, always would get up and say, Mommy, my tummy's talking to me. And I'm like, yeah, what's it saying? I'm hungry. And I'm like, okay, great. But immediately, as soon as my eyes open, I'm already tending to someone else's needs. And of course, it's my child. Those are things that we're expected to do. But at what point did I check in with me to see what I needed? Right? And sometimes we tend to do that often. We kind of get up and serve everybody else. And then we don't even think about, well, what does Nakia need today?
That's right.
What could I possibly need today?
That's big. That's big. Because our staff, no matter what role they fill, are always helping others.
That's it.
Always helping others. But do they ever ask themselves, what do I need? And maybe we need to make that a practice.
Yes.
On a daily basis. What do I need?
Well, I think it's normalizing that we all need something.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
We absolutely need something. And I think as the helping professional, we often don't give ourselves the time to even think that it's okay that we might need something because we're always giving. So I think it's normalizing the idea that, you know what, it's okay to need something. It's okay to kind of take a step back and catch my breath a little bit. It's okay. I can accept that and be gracious and self-compassionate to myself.
That's beautiful. I love how you also talk about, the daily practice sometimes, or how we can acknowledge it within our bodies to stop for a moment.
Yeah.
But then as the weeks go, as the months go, as the demands, again, back to compounding part of it.
So
Yeah.
I love this because I think that means that we actually have to be very proactive in managing the renewing of our protective factors. Yes, our well is constantly emptied, right? Like, so there's a component of making sure that we're being intentional with this. So yes, we start off by identifying like, hey, what are my needs are? But then once you know what those needs are, it's actually implementing them. Us helping professionals are the worst at taking care of ourselves, right? Like, we are the worst. We're the last ones to go to the doctor for our checkup sometimes, right? Like, yes, everyone else is sick, going to the doctor, we're taking care of them, tending to them. And guess what? We have to own that. We know what's best for us, and often we just don't do it. So it's being intentional about saying, okay, I know what I need to do. Let's do it. I start off every single morning with some spiritual time. I have 2 pups now. When I'm not taking care of my family and spending quality, I have 2 pups, and guess what? They want to go out as soon as they get up. As soon as they hear me breathing and moving around the house, they're like, "Oh no, it's time to play!" Right? You know?
Me time.
Yes. And I have no problem taking them out, but I think I also have to recognize, okay, well, let's get you started right. What do you need for the day? Because you've got to set that foundation. So I spend some spiritual time. I also kind of manage my time with recognizing how much time does it really take me to get ready in the morning. How much time? Because, you know, like, we might say I want to take a quick shower, but 45 minutes isn't a quick shower.
Right.
And if it takes me 5 to 10 minutes to wash my face because I do multiple layers of what I'm doing, right, then I might need to also incorporate that. And oftentimes we don't do that. We just say I'm a shower. We kind of generalize it without really managing how much time we actually need to get ourselves ready to feel good in the morning.
That's great.
I think there are other components of recognizing, like, there are pieces of, I like music. Giving myself time to actually hear the words, just take it in. What does that beat feel like? What does it feel like in my body if I was to move right now? Right?
That's right.
I think oftentimes we kind of, as the helping professional, will treat ourselves to Starbucks.
I'm guilty. I got one right here. It's true. It's
right?
true. It's true.
And then we'll also perhaps say, oh, you know what? I deserve this. I had such a hard day. I'm going to watch my streaming favorite show and I'm going to tune out. And the truth is, while those are temporary fixes, they still don't replenish us. So I'm not here to shame anybody for it. I just want us to recognize that, like, we can do that, but then we also got to make sure that we're still filling up the well.
That's great.
And sometimes we just aren't doing that.
Oh, fill up the well.
Yeah, no. But definitely get your coffee, because I'm for it.
No, I appreciate that. I do. But I'm going to the second part as well, and not forget that.
So I'm honing in on the fact that you said we need to fill the well, and that some things that we do don't necessarily provide that. So Lanisa loves her Starbucks, loves going to Starbucks. For me, periodically, it's going to get my nails done or going to get my hair done. Yes. So I'm thinking that those elements are filling my well, but in all actuality, they're not.
I think it's going to depend on the individual, but for me, it has not proven to be successful. Okay. It becomes another thing on my calendar to do. And I absolutely cannot stand it.
Okay.
Because I get there and then I've got to sit in the pedicure chair and then someone wants to talk to you and so you got to sit this way. And then when you got to put your nails inside, like, so they could hold it, you kind of like feel like the chairs aren't really comfortable. You're trying to get the right. So it becomes, to me, in my experience, is that it really isn't helpful. I like the way I feel and look when it's done, but it isn't helpful. It really becomes another task. And I think some of the components for me is like, okay, so if I'm going to maybe still do my nails, then sometimes I might take a break and actually spend that time doing my nails myself. Being intentional to just give me that quiet time. And that seems like a lot of work, but in the past, that's kind of what we did to kind of slow things down a little bit.
Okay.
Right? Really just taking care of me.
Right.
Who can take care of me better than me?
Right. Right.
Right?
We're spending time. So now I'm thinking of what I do.
I
How
know.
to fill my well.
Yeah.
So I love to read.
Yeah.
So is it taking a few minutes? I did that this weekend. I took about an hour and just sat down and opened a book, and it was peaceful.
I was going to say, how did it make you feel?
I was at peace, and I was like, wow, okay, I'm good. Or when the summertime was upon us, I'd go outside and sit on my deck and do the adult coloring.
Yes. Yes.
All right, so I'm on the right track.
That is it.
Right.
But it's being intentional to take those moments to soak it up, right? Like, I think we often hear, just go outside, go for a walk, exercise. And while those are true, right, I think we have to know ourselves and kind of what we like, right? I love the sun. So any time of day when there's sun out, I like to feel that on my body. I like to feel it on my face and actually close my eyes and take that in. That's a
I like
component
what
of just
you
being
said.
present.
Two things that stuck out to me. One, to slow down in a world where it tells you the opposite, and especially our job.
Yes.
Staff.
Yes.
Go, 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 go.
Yes.
Because there's always another need, which
Yes.
they are phenomenal to always step up and rise to the occasion.
Yes.
But I love that you said to slow down and to be able to feel that sun on your skin. That takes time.
It does. And it's not even a whole lot of time. I want us to just think about when as soon as we walk outside that door, if you open up the door and just stand in that sun and give yourself 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Close your eyes. You're worth the 5 seconds.
That's right.
You're even worth a whole minute. I promise you.
And then some.
And you'll still get done all the things that are on your list to get done. But I think we keep neglecting ourselves and feeding everyone else's need without really kind of thinking about, am I not worth the 1 minute of pouring into me? It's a pause. We tell our clients this stuff all the time, but we don't do it.
We don't do it.
We're right back to knowing what's best, but then not doing it. Are we not worthy of those same sort of techniques and tools? Of course we are.
Yes. I hear the word, when I hear you say that, the word intentionality. Because that'd be intentional about me then.
Absolutely.
That means I got to. So, a friend of mine once mentioned to me bookends. She said, you can't control what's going to happen to you during the day sometimes, or depending on our work. And I think about our staff a lot. We don't know what kind of cases are coming through the door, what's asked of them, and the next case that awaits them. But I think about bookends. Like you said about morning, I can control that a little bit more before I start my day. And at the end of the day, what can I control back? And maybe those 5 minutes are those moments I take back from myself.
Well, that's absolutely correct. I think of the end of the day bookend as having a end of the day ritual. Closing out your day to actually then be able to transition home. Leaving work at work, knowing that you've done the best that you can with what you had, and feeling at peace with knowing that you did the best you could.
Yeah.
The problems that I think that we face as case managers, as therapists, on top of just giving, we almost feel responsible for outcomes. And unfortunately, we can't control outcomes. We can just set people up for the best success that they can have with what resources we have in front of us. We do the best we can with what we have. And every day we just try our best. That's it. And I think we do that. I think it's important that we just also just acknowledge that for ourselves, that I did the best that I can today.
That's right. And I also love the part of, I came back the next day and I'm giving it what I can. I came back the next day. I'm going to keep showing up to do what I can to take care of what I've been tasked with, the honor to be able to take care of this family, what it looks like, even at times when it may not be reciprocated back,
100%.
the sacrifices that are being made. I'm going to keep showing up. And maybe that's
Absolutely.
the grace that you talked about as well for ourselves.
Yes, I think it's remembering why we got into the profession that we got into, right? Remembering our purpose, right? Our purpose isn't necessarily just about outcomes. It's just being able to be there to help and serve other people. What they do with that, it's truly up to them. We just show up the best way that we can, and being honest with the idea that we lend our egos every single day for people to demonstrate, like we demonstrate and model for people how to be calm.
That's good.
How to not feed into impulses, right? To problem solve, analyze situations.
That's lovely.
We do that all day long. So when I talk about depleting ourselves and emptying our well, it's important to recognize that we do that all day. Half the time when we talk about stresses, we don't even know what we're doing all day. We don't even acknowledge, I have problems. I have 30 problems today.
That's it. There you go.
I stayed calm even when I wanted to lose it.
That's it. So good. Let
Right?
staff carry that.
Yes. And it's so important that we then just acknowledge that, because I think we can just say, I did my job today. Check, done. And the truth is, I think we have to be real mindful of kind of what does our job actually entail? Right? Because otherwise we just did a 9 to 5 and we haven't given ourselves any credit of why we're stressed, why we feel overwhelmed. Instead, we kind of well, this is the job we have. We just get up and do it. And the truth is, for us to get up and do it, we've got to take care of our well.
Dr. Black, are there any more tips you'd like to give us?
Absolutely. I think we mentioned earlier about making sure our physical bodies are together, right? So that also means making sure we are mindful of what we eat, what we put into our bodies, making time to exercise if we're going to, but if not, definitely stretching. We spend a lot of time sitting, and a lot of time in cars. So it's so important that we at least kind of release some of that stress that our body might be holding on to. I historically hold stress in my shoulders. So it's so important for me to be mindful of that and kind of rotate, really giving myself time. I do that sometimes even while I'm in session because I know that my body is carrying the stress. So it's so important to kind of give my body something, at least release some of that stress by rotating my shoulders, right? But really looking up stretches and getting your body flexible, right? Loosening it up some. The other components I think of the creating me time routines, which looks like really the rituals, the morning rituals, the night rituals, journaling, journaling to make sure that we're actually processing our emotions, fostering resiliency, and also demonstrating some gratitude. And I ask people to kind of explore a couple prompts. And here are a few prompts that I'm going to give you. What was the most challenging part of my day? And how did I handle it? Really sit and think about that. So now you can kind of get what's inside of you outside.
Wow.
So we're no longer internalizing. We're actually kind of processing some of that. So we're getting in tune with our emotions here, right?
That's right.
Help us know that, hey, I was angry today. It's okay, right? That's fine. But at least acknowledge it, right? To kind of think about maybe how we foster resilience, I think thinking about what small victories did I experience today and why are they meaningful? Because sometimes we think those small victories are like, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. And it's like, no, like I was able to sit with someone today, a child or a parent, and actually help them problem solve this issue and give them a little peace and comfort and knowing that things will be okay. That's huge.
Right.
And the work that we do.
Right. Absolutely right.
Right? I remember when I was working in the correction facilities, I would tell all of my clients, inmates, when I leave on Friday, I want to see you back here on Monday when I return. It lets them know that I also care about them. But when I would return on Monday, it was a small victory.
Oh, it's lovely.
It felt good to know that all my people, even if they weren't on my caseload, were on the unit. But also gave them hope.
That's right.
Right? That somebody was looking out for them. That's important. That's meaningful. Another area is to practice that gratitude. Sometimes people tell you to kind of think about like 3 things that we're grateful for today. And sometimes, maybe I can only find one and being okay with that. Right? Identifying that like, for me, even today, driving here, had a little bit of traffic and it was stressful. Like, am I going to make it on time? Like, am I going to, and I had to just take it in and stride and say, you know what? Breathe, get there safe. That's what matters, and just being patient with myself and also being just grateful for that. It's a beautiful day.
Right.
It's beautiful outside. I feel that sun. And those are the components that actually help me to kind of cope and relax a little bit. And then I got here and it's like, yeah, you're here. Look, you're here. It's great.
That's it.
Another tip I would say is setting boundaries. This is important in our work. And we have to say no. Oh, no. That's a hard word for the helping profession. We got to say no sometimes to our clients, sometimes to our colleagues, and sometimes to our supervisor. And that doesn't necessarily mean like, no, I don't want to do the work. Sometimes it's like, no, I'm tapped out. Can you give me a little relief? And I think if we all work together, there's room for everyone to have some relief.
Nice. I love that communication piece. Because to your point, if I don't know, you need a release, right? And it's like using each other to be able to offer the grace that we all long for.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I think also identifying what boundaries are needed to protect my energy. I see clients throughout the day, and I promise you, by the time I'm done, I don't want to talk to anybody. Anybody. And I give myself enough grace and respect my boundary that I just can't. I speak with my family, of course, but I don't want to be on the phone. I can go days and days without speaking on the phone with people. And I'm like, wow, the last call I made was a week ago. Like, if it's not for the practice, it's like, oh, this is interesting. But it's actually so needed. It's so needed. It allows me to actually replenish because I've given so much of myself throughout the day. So I think every person has to really be intentional about thinking about what do they need? What boundary do they need to protect their peace? And again, we don't often think about that because we're giving to everybody else. And we get frustrated because people don't actually protect our boundary that we haven't actually made clear.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. I tell people this. Yeah, I don't talk after work. I don't. I don't. I try not to. And if I do, I promise you it's a 5-minute limit. Being really selfish with my time.
Right.
Selfish with my time. It's beautiful. Giving that to me.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned this earlier about leaving work at work, creating those end-of-day rituals, which helps us to actually then plan for tomorrow even. Hey, this is what I've accomplished. This is what needs to get done tomorrow. Having a checklist of about like 5 to 10 things. I know, that seems like a lot, but then prioritizing those 5 to 10 things. Most important, least important. And then focusing on the most important. If we can get to all of that and then focus on the other not so important items, then great. But I think it's at least we have a game plan of how we want to tackle that day.
Right.
Recognizing that things are going to kind of come and kind of throw us off, but at least we have an idea of kind of where we want to be.
Yeah.
The wind's going to blow us, but we have to try and stay in alignment with kind of our own goals for how we planned out our day as best we can.
That's right.
Right? Other components is meditating.
Okay.
I like deep box breathing. You breathe in for 4, you let go for 4, but I actually like to add a positive affirmation to it. So I tell my clients, breathe in for 4, hold that belly button in. And as you exhale through your mouth, through your mouth, you actually want to be saying, it's okay to be upset when things go wrong. And sink into your chair. And then do it again. Inhale again. And exhale. It's okay when things go wrong. Like you can honestly help yourself to acknowledge that life is gonna throw you curveballs. It's gonna. And it's okay that when they come, we're just gonna accept them.
Right. Right.
We talked about this earlier about the peer support, debriefing with our colleagues, but then not just debriefing, also offering words of encouragement.
That's it.
We're all going through something. We're all stressed by our caseload. We have high emotional demands. Being a support for each other is super important.
Yeah.
So those are the things I would say are the pieces to help us manage our stress that are so important. Being intentional with ourselves, being selfish when we need to, and saying no so that we can be balanced to kind of handle the things that are being thrown at us.
Nice.
Thank you.
Phenomenal.
Thank you.
Phenomenal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Black.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes,
thank
so
you, thank
great.
you.
Dr. Black, we appreciate you being here, helping us learn how to fill our wells.
Yes.
I think that's my takeaway from this.
This wraps up Real Talk, and we will be back soon with another episode.